Hallmark movie window facing the park as
Right.
people are the tree lit up.
Right.
All right, it is 6 p.m. I'm going to go ahead and call the Downtown Management Board meeting to order here. We have a couple of members that were not able to attend. Well, one that was not able to attend and one. We'll see if she shows up. So
At 7 or is it changed?
there's been some confusion. 6 o'clock is a recent development for us after years of habitually being at 7. So it's thrown us a little bit for a loop. So we've got what could be either a very long or very quick agenda tonight. I don't want to push through things without appropriate discussion. However, I would like to make the comment that we've got some very, very complete applications here and grant approval requests here by the committees. And we have had our packets early as board members. We should have read these. So I could be up for, quicker through some of these action items that have very complete data applied to us here. So the first thing on our agenda tonight is the consent agenda, which is the approval of regular meeting minutes for February 21st, payment of February bills, and acceptance of February expense and income reports. Do we have any board discussion? I'm open to a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
I'll make that motion.
You have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Do we have any further board questions, comments, or concerns? And with that, I'll take a vote. All in favor of accepting the consent agenda as approved, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Perfect. That consent agenda is approved. Next, we have public comments. We've got some members of the public, so you can make comments at this time. Perfect. Let's move on to the next one. So next is the discuss and possible recommendation of a redevelopment liquor license for malted vinyl, 316 East Mitchell Street. We have that in our packet. I would like to say that is probably the most complete application I've ever seen for anything, which is very appreciated. If Weber, sorry, I'm sorry. If you'd like to introduce it real quick with just a quick discussion for us, I think you'd do a better job than I would.
That's fine. I'm Missy Leverett, and this is my husband.
Missy, you got to speak.
Oh,
And you'll have to turn it on.
Okay, so I'm Missy Leverett. I'm here with my husband Jesse, and we would like to open malted vinyl in downtown at the old Grand Traverse Pie Company grain train location. The concept is relatively simple. Music is trending. We're a very art-focused community, but we don't have a music-focused venue today. And so with the advent of vinyl, I don't know if you've been seeing the news, but as of 2021, vinyl is the #1 way albums are being sold. It's continued into 2022, and it just keeps growing. It's a great listening experience and people are buying, but not everybody has the ability to hear it on an audiophile system. We'd love to have basically a little sound stage that looks kind of like your cool uncle's living room. So sofas, coffee tables, really relaxed environment. So where people could come, you could bring your own vinyl, share with other people, or else experience the vinyl we have. At this moment, we're just under 10,000 hours worth of vinyl, and we want to be able to continue to grow that. So really hitting all different formats from the 70s to today, from rap to country to the classic rock that many of us grew up on. So have that experience. And while you're listening to music, hanging out with your friends, one of the great things to do is have a drink. We definitely would like the liquor license. That's why we're here today. But we're also looking at the national and global trends of a lot more people drinking cleaner beverages, lower calories, as well as stepping away from alcohol from time to time, or possibly as a lifestyle change. So we're looking at doing about 30% of our menu as spiritless spirit cocktails or zero proof cocktails. So for the adult that wants to go out and enjoy their evening, sip on something that's a little bit more sophisticated, that doesn't look or taste like a Shirley Temple that's full of sugar and unneeded calories. So that's the concept, is a great place just to relax with your friends or your family. Will be a kid-friendly venue. Our collection of records is everything but explicit. That's how that's how we plan to curate our record collection. So are there any questions?
Any board questions, comments, concerns?
Out of curiosity.
Absolutely.
For like, of these records. Question, maybe.
It started as his personal collection and has ballooned exponentially probably in the last year when we started thinking about this venture.
One thing that we have heard on that street is that is a big space, and
Yes.
talking about the space being. What was that consideration when you were looking at it and trying to fill it?
That's a great question. So it was highly intimidating. We chose that space because of a number of reasons. One being that it was previously a restaurant, and so there would be no change of use. And so that made sense. The rent worked with our numbers, so that was another step forward. What we're looking to do out the gate, though, because it is such a big space, is putting up a dividing wall to give it an intimate feel. And then over time, ideally, I would say next year, opening up that back upstairs room more for like a VIP and overflow experience. But out the gate, that will be an egress you can walk in and walk out of, because we understand there are safety concerns. We want to definitely have a safe environment, but the upstairs will just be a walkway. And so we're cutting that down significantly. We're also going to be adding a little bit of seating from the kitchen, because out the gate, we don't want to have a full kitchen. There are great restaurants downtown. This just is a place just to sit and relax. And so we will have small nibbles, but we will cut into that kitchen a little bit as well with future growth expansion if it's needed.
Any other board questions, comments, concerns?
I noticed on page 5, you say tent soft opening and tent fully open.
Oh, yes. So everything's contingent on the liquor license timing as well as our construction timing. So right now we're looking tentatively like we could, and I think it's changed a little from page 5, but about a week before our grand opening, we wanted to do a couple soft openings just to really make sure the staff is trained, our bartenders are trained, our systems are working appropriately before we just open the doors in the middle of summer up here and fall on our face.
So you don't mean it's a physical tent?
No, tentative. I'm sorry. Yes. That's sorry, yeah.
Those are trigger words.
No, it will be inside. It'll just be a soft opening of the facility, all pending how fast we can get work done and how fast we can get a liquor license.
Any other board questions, comments, concerns? I would be open to a motion to accept to be able to recommend to city council, that is the correct step, for the redevelopment liquor license for 316 East Mitchell Street. Somebody would like to make a motion in that regard?
I do have just one question, Becky. Does this meet all the requirements
It does.
for the redevelopment?
Yes, it's
So
been gone over by city staff and by me. It's checklist and it click every single one of them. And I would add to you that those are the state will be the ones to double check and triple check all of that. We're just sending a complete application. It's not under local control.
Figure. Sorry about that, guys. No worries. So I'm open to a motion to recommend the redevelopment liquor license to city council for 316 East Mitchell Street for malted vinyl.
I make a motion to recommend the redevelopment liquor license to city council at 316 East Mitchell.
Thank you. We have a motion on the table. Do you have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Any further board questions, comments, concerns? Let's take a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Perfect. Passes. Thank you very much for attending and excited to see it join downtown.
If you have any other questions, I'll give you my card and you can just shoot me an email or a text if that works. Thank you guys so much.
So excited to see it folks join downtown. So next on our agenda is consider approving the 2023 facade improvement grants requested by the design committee. So this is a very complete packet, I feel. Becky, if you'd like to go ahead and introduce it.
Yes, the design committee met and evaluated 10 applications this year. And 11 applications. They recommended that 10 go forward and 1 not. And you can see at the bottom of my memo that the 11th grant was for fixing floorboards on a front porch that even has a rail around it. it's not really a facade and it's maintenance, and with all the other good applications, it was decided it didn't benefit downtown as a whole to have that work done. No one would see it. So they were very, very pleased to get the very first one, and that's Meyer Ace Hardware. This is when the grant program was started all those years ago. This is the kind of thing that the committee and the management board wanted to do. Put buildings back to the way they were supposed to be. And this is on the side of the Ace building. If you see it from Pennsylvania Park, right behind the cannon, there's a big board up where this window is a main show window, has been boarded up. I should have asked them how many years, but longer than I know. And they're taking that board off and they're making it look like a show window that is on the front of the building. And this grant was funded to the full amount possible because we can match up to 50%, and this is a 50% grant for that. Gary is on the design committee. If you interrupt me on anything, Gary, it's fine with me. So go ahead.
That's good. You're doing fine.
Okay, so far. The Carnegie Building was the second highest awarded grant, based on the fact that a Carnegie Building is very, very historic. Our particular Carnegie Building needs a lot of work done to it. If you have a Carnegie Building in your downtown, you're very, very fortunate to have it, and it speaks well of you. But if it doesn't look good, if it's run down and it's falling apart, it's just an eyesore. And so it's very important that committee felt it's very important that we help the library in their endeavor to keep this building in very, very good physical shape. And it will look good for all of downtown to have the building looking like this. Also, Cutler's came next at the corner of Howard and Lake, right in the heart of downtown. They do want to repaint the yellow on their lower first level. And if you've gone by there recently, you've noticed that they had purchased new awnings, and those awnings are very, very bright, and it makes the yellow that they've had they're faded look pretty faded. And it also, they need a lot of work on the white trim that has been done there as well. This, because of the high visibility of this building, it was thought that they needed to get this covered and get this work done this year as well. Stafford's Perry Hotel was awarded a grant for the same amount to work on their patio, which is adds to outdoor dining. And this was a high priority of the committee, is to increase outdoor dining whenever they were able to do that. And this one is, we have got to, it's based on contingency, they will get it, but to speak with them about what kind of flooring is going on there and what kind of stone is going to be used on the wall. But that one was funded at $6,000 as well. Mike Lambert, if you know his building on Petoskey Street, we funded it 6 or 7 years ago now. The front of that building was taken down, it was all replaced, and the windows were all done. And he is back now for a different facade, which is on the side that faces the highway. And if you've looked at that building as you go by up by the roof line, the brick is just falling off. It's just in terrible repair. And it is an historic building, and it's been coming back one facade grant at a time, actually. And it would be the committee felt it would be a very good project to help him get that reconstructed. Beards had a very ambitious grant that they applied for. In my mind, trying to make this the corner of downtown, it would have added great excitement to the corner, because it would be very different from what it is now. The major part of their grant was for painting the brick, and the committee, I guess rightfully said, painting brick when it's new is just a heartache waiting to happen, because it's going to need to be repainted, and then it'll need to be repainted again. They have funded painting old brick in the past. Actually, they've painted the pier in the past because it's old brick and Colors have talked about getting their brick repainted, but the committee didn't feel it was a wise investment of dollars to paint new brick, because it would just need to be maintained. So they did vote. They really love the idea of these sails that would be put over the deck area, and would attract excitement to the entrance to downtown. It would make the building pop more, and they have decided to fund those 50% of what the cost of those would be. So they got a $4,000 grant. Great Lakes Orthodontics, which is the dental clinic on Petoskey Street, had a very ambitious grant that they put forward and asked for a lot of work done to their building, but primary amount of the work was on the alley side, and that alley is not even really used. It's hardly passable anymore. So the committee decided that wasn't high importance to the rest of downtown, but did feel that helping them fund their front door and to get it to match their building and look correct with their mid-century modern historic design was important, and they've agreed to fund that at $3,000. Dave Russell has 3 very, very historic buildings on Lake Street that are all in need of paint. He had a good price for the paint, and it will be nice to see that spruced up. Lake Street is very traversable. Lots of people there. It's always good to make that street look clean and tidy. And he was awarded or recommended to be awarded $1,500. Tilly's Taffel had asked for new signage and lettering on their awning, but that isn't something that the facade grant approves, and we were unable to give them money for that. But they are doing some work on that alley side of the building that would increase in outdoor dining and add a doorway for them. And the committee decided to recommend $1,500 for that. And the circus shop, bless their hearts, it wasn't. Their work was not that expensive, but it is, if you've seen the piece of the awning that is the circus awning is coming up and needed to be replaced. And what's very important to the downtown as a whole, hopefully to keep that historic awning and sign there, number one, but number two, that building does not become empty and becomes re-rentable and looks good to attract a new tenant. And so that was matched at 50% as well. So I'm open to any questions.
I have a point of order question. I think this may be best answered by Shane. We've got 3 board members who are included in this. Would it be best to parse those 3 out so we don't vote individually on them, or because this is as this is presented as a whole, would it be more appropriate for us just to vote as a whole?
If you 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8.
I think we should do it individually.
Okay.
Just
Each one at a time.
each one at a time.
Okay.
I know that sounds like more work. But that way, it eliminates any feeling of conflict if the person wants to back out. Okay, the big one.
Okay.
I think you need 5 votes to recommend to city council, if you're recommending anything to council. So if the 3 of them backed out of all the voting.
And they could just do it as one.
Then they could do it with one.
Yeah, and my main concern was just making sure that it was appropriate because 3 of us are in here.
Then if it doesn't pass for some, maybe I like
But
your,
this is 5-3.
Yeah.
yeah.
5-3 abstaining.
What would perhaps we do all of them except the 3, and then we do just 3 individual? I just want to make sure that we have a good point of order so we don't have any questions of impropriety.
I'll leave it to you.
Yeah, I think doing it that way probably makes the most sense, doing them all but those 3.
Perfect. So let's look, if we go that route, let's look at these without numbers 6, 10, and 4. Sorry, 4, 6, and 10. So if the board has any questions, comments, or concerns on the remaining 7 grant requests, be open for those. Also open to a motion to accept the 7 as presented.
I'd make a motion, we accept the 7 facade grants proposals as presented by the design committee.
We have a motion on the table. Do we have a second? Second. Any further board questions, comments, concerns? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Perfect. So we have all of them down except for numbers 4, 6, and 10. So let's go for number 4 right now. Stafford's Perry Hotel. Do we have any further board questions, comments, concerns? Perfect. So we'll have 1 abstaining vote on.
I'm abstaining from this particular agenda item.
So we have Drew Smith abstaining from this particular agenda item. Do we have any further board questions, comments, concerns? I am open to a motion to accept number 4 as presented. So moved. Looking for support. All in favor, say aye. 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 All opposed, same sign. Perfect. Let's move on to number 6. I will be abstaining from this one. Any further board questions, comments, concerns? I'm open to a motion to accept number 6 as presented.
I make a motion to accept 6 as presented.
Support. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. And let's move on to number 10.
I will be abstaining from this motion.
Thank you very much, Marty. So, any further board questions, comments, concerns on number 10 as presented? I'm open to a motion to accept number 10 as presented. Looking for a second?
Support.
I think Jen beat you just by a smidge.
It's fine, she can have it.
All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Perfect. Thank you very, very much, board. It was a little procedural there. Just wanted to make sure we were correct on that. So next on our agenda is consider approval of parking lot sign refurbishment request by staff.
Okay, so you have a very long memo in front of you that I know all of you have read. I will just summarize by saying that we did put this in the budget last year. We put $25,000 in the budget as a placeholder. It wasn't a vague estimate. I had talked to Pro Signage, used to be Sign Design, and had gotten that rough estimate. We were unable to do the work last year. They didn't have the supply chain, COVID aftermath. But because it's in the budget, we can do it again this year. It can be moved forward. And I do have a very, very firm figure of $46,213 to get this work done. These signs have not had any work done on them at all, unless a car banged into one of their posts and the post had to be straightened out. Since they were installed before I got here, I think it was 1995, maybe when, or no, 2005, I think. No, that's when I came. 2000, I think, is when Tim Knutson seemed to recall that they went in at the design committee meeting, and so did Rick. So that's a long time. They're good quality. They have a lot of lifespan, and they've served us very well. But you can see on the picture that I attached in here, not so well on the lower picture, but there is lots of this white that is looks like condensation that is dripping down, and it's not condensation. It's just leakage of the paint, and it can't be fixed, can't be replaced. So they all have to be taken apart, refaced, and brought back to get that leakage off. The bulk of this quote, about half of it, is these copper brass plaques that give all the history that have just, and then I have been watching these. That's why I put this in the budget last year, because they were starting to fail, but no, it's all of a sudden, once they started to fail, they went fast. So you can see the bubbling and the picking off of these copper signs. That's where the money is. And my recommendation as staff person is to go ahead and fix these at that $46,000 amount, based on the argument I gave you in the memo, which is that when all this work was done, I wasn't even in town, but I heard about it when I was downstate, about the huge process that they put into this, how they brought the whole community together, the collaborativeness that they did, all the groups that worked on this wayfinding system. I know Corbin Design, Corbin Engineering, Corbin Design, they were very premier. They worked for communities all over the country. Petoskey went with the very, very best when they decided to use Corbin. They are rivaled in the marketplace today. And the signs are fabricated at Valley City Sign Company, which is in the Grand Rapids area. I don't believe in going back to Valley City Sign, because it takes so much money to rip everything up, take it to Valley City, have them fix it there, and then bring it back. The few repairs that I had done when I first got here at Valley City, the cost for the transportation was more than the labor even. So I've had good luck with Sign and Design and making minor repairs all over the city, not necessarily to these, but with street posts, bike racks, any of the signage that you see that goes. They also do the pedestal ones that are in the parking lots. They do those every year. You can't tell the difference in the work that they're doing. So my recommendation is to get these things done locally, get them done this year, so we don't have to worry about it for hopefully another 20 years. That's what it comes from the parking fund, and that's what the intention of the fund was when it was first established. Everything that we don't spend in the fund goes to be saved for parking, but no, this money is not going to come from anyplace else if it's not for the parking fund. So it's got to be. And we discussed this briefly at the parking committee, but there were only a couple people this month. they didn't take a strong stand, but the design committee did take a very strong stand, unanimous, and I outlined all their reasons in the memo as well. That we should go with the brass
Perfect.
and not the nickel.
Thank you, Becky. Any board questions, comments, concerns for Becky?
I just want to echo what Becky said about the fact that the community spent a lot of time and effort picking out these signs. I was there. And in 20 years from now, I will not be sitting in this chair making decisions and replacing these damn. I'm just saying. I will not. So I would like to make a motion that we approve.
We have a motion on the table. Do we have a second?
Second.
Perfect. Any further board questions, comments, concerns?
I just have a question about the nickel.
Yes,
So what's the difference over the copper to the nickel? Does it not match the other things? Does it not last as long?
It doesn't match. It
Okay.
just doesn't match. If you look at the sign, it's green and gold and white,
Yeah,
but the nickel, where would that come from? It's
Right.
not even,
okay. I was just, that was my question.
it takes away from the overall quality of the project.
Okay.
I just have a comment myself. I think we discussed this briefly at parking committee, and I think we should discuss it at organizational task force, but I think it may make sense for us in the future instead of looking at this from the side we have been, kind of switching the budgetary, and perhaps we allocate budget to design committee to allocate as they see fit, whether it's design facade grants, whether it's redoing signs, whether it's something else, because a lot of these items that we've been doing with big budget are at that committee level, and it'd be, I think, behoove us maybe to give them the budget to play where they see it's most apt and important for that individual year. So, any further board questions, comments, concerns? We have a motion on the table to approve the request for the parking lot sign refurbishment funding. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Perfect. Next agenda item. Consider approval of pop-up event request for proposal.
All right, now, if you remember last year, when we were reacting to pre-post COVID, we did not have, we had a pop-up event at the end of the summer called Summer Send Off. And Beards helped us through that by becoming our first sponsor of an event like that. We added 20,000 to the budget this year. Thanks for coming back. And we have 2 pop-up events that are scheduled that we could do this year with that money. I'm assuming, and I've already heard from what's his name, Stephen, about Beards wanting to do another one. And I've heard from a couple of people around town that they might like to do one as well. Now, this has to be on a competitive basis. So you all had said when we put this money in the budget that we needed to develop an RFP for this. It's time to get that RFP out there so that we can get whatever comes back approved and get it in the shopping mat and on the summer schedules. So I just, on a wing, I just put this RFP together. This would be a proposal. This is a draft that you have in your packet to send out to businesses. And if they do want to have an event like Beards did and use public right of ways to do it, these are the things that we're asking them, because commercial activity in public rights of way is not allowed. That's why when we did it at Beards last year, it was a downtown management board event. And it was sponsored by Beards, and they spent a lot of money on it, and we spent the same amount that they spent. So these are the things that the downtown management board would give when we get proposals from different businesses. We would give back up to 50% matching funds, and how we did that last year is we had bands playing in the park. We had that New Orleans band that walked around the streets. Do you remember that? So Beards had the activity in the street that was closed by their business, but then we had activity all through downtown as well. And then the DMB would be the person to fill the entity to fill out the forms at the city to say this is a downtown management board event and to oversee all that kind of activity. They also manage the financials. If as Beards, when they sponsored, they gave the check for the band to my office, and then to the city, and we deposited it in the city, and then the city paid the band. So that's how that works. The management board or this office would do the printing and the design consultation for all the printed materials, and we would do social media for it. So that's what the DMB would be doing. But then we have these things that I have listed here. We want to know what the business that wants to do this would be doing. For instance, if someone who had a store in the park wanted to use Pennsylvania Park to have a harvest party, and they were going to put out lawn tables and invite people to come and have harvest meal, doesn't matter what it is, but, and they were going to pay for music and other entertainment, maybe a magician, and they were going to support it in that way. And they were also going to give money toward radio or television advertising or something beyond what the management board would be doing. They would fill this out and they would say what their plan is. And we might get 4 or 5 of these, but we know how much money we can back and how much we can support. So the board would have to pick which ones that they wanted to do. There might be, for instance, another one is the back lot. David Miko might be interested in doing something in a parking lot back there. I don't know, City Park might be interested in doing something. There are places where we could have events that would be called pop-up events. They may become, we might do it every single year. The one on the park that is interested, that is talking about that is Craig Ryan. And, for something, we wouldn't want to put up any beer tents because we have a social district. So that would be off the table. So then I'm asking for a complete description of what they want to do. They would come back. We have a deadline here of May 8th so that we can get it on the May agenda. And then it's too late for April, I think. But, and then we would put it in for the summer, and maybe it would be a fall event. Maybe it wouldn't, it doesn't have to be a summer event, but ask me questions.
The point here is that last year I came to the board with kind of a left field proposal using some of the new tools we had, like the social district, and then using some of our old tools and systems like open house to present a new type of event. And the board supported us, which was great. As a business owner perspective, it was a fantastic event for us. I got personally good feedback. I didn't hear any negative feedback as board chair, board member, or as a business. But, I'd be curious if anybody did hear anything in that regard. So the question is, what does the board want to see for events in the future, and how do we get somebody to communicate to us what they want and see if the goals align? It's a whole event.
And this was put into the budget. I'm not just coming out of the blue here. You put it in the budget last fall to do this. This is the first step in making it happen.
And we're, the plan, without reading it right, is it's budget limited, but we're not.
Oh, sorry.
The plan is like, we're not limiting it to one pop-up event. It's
No.
budget limited, so we could get 20 events proposed, and if you could fit them all. It might not work, but it wouldn't, logistically, but that's
Logistically, it might not work.
that's how it's set up.
We talked about 2 is what we talked about. So we'll see what comes back. But I think as staff, I would be very careful to take on too many of them. We have a new person going to be doing events, and it's just more, it adds more chaos. What if they're 2 weeks apart? All of that will have to be evaluated when the applications come back.
I might be over invented. Yes. I'm just giggling.
You might be.
And with this, I think the intention is more toe in the water versus diving in. It's like a festival every weekend type thing is, part of the proposal that I brought forward was that we were going to take off a lot of the pressure from downtown scheduling, organizing, planning. So the intention would be hopefully the ones that come forward are doing the same, like somebody's requesting, hey, I'd like to put on a, like you said, fall festival, maybe somebody wants to do an Oktoberfest, something of that nature. So the business would be taking on the bulk of the organizing and the scheduling. And
They would be setting up the tables. They would be
Exactly.
cleaning up afterwards. They would be doing the work that we don't have the staff to do.
yeah, and then downtown would
We
be
needed that.
approving the event and then providing some secondary funding resource to help offset the cost. And again, this is playing, like, from my perspective, when I proposed, it was playing with the new downtown social district. So we weren't selling beer in the street, so it wasn't commercial activity. Basically, it was using a shutdown street, which we've done for plenty of events in the past. We've done concerts. It was just doing a different location, kind of under a different format. So, and that's why I imagine it, but I think something like this could allow somebody to come to the board, something I can't imagine. Could be cool.
So to that end, just as this RFP is written, which I think is great, I think it's really important that we have a form of medium that people can submit these. I see things that the downtown is willing to contribute to, in terms of matching funds, receiving permissions, management of financials, things of that nature. Does it need to be stated things that the downtown is not going to contribute in terms of planning or logistics? Because it's kind of open-ended on terms of administering oversight and support, including.
Becky's gonna have her views on it. I think realistically, the more open, the better. The intention is to get in different and creative events.
Mhm.
And then it would be at this board to decide whether we're approving the funding individually or not. If somebody's bringing something to us that's kind of half thought through, then denied. But if somebody brings something forward that's, you know, Dave Meekle, I'm gonna do an Oktoberfest, we're gonna do this and this year, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this. Here's a full encapsulated event, then it's the board's decision is, does that meet what we would like these to be?
Question is, do we want to include something like that, or do we want to purposefully leave it open-ended to open the door to somebody that can't contribute those, like, so a business can't contribute all of the logistics, but downtown can support in that way? Is that something that we want to leave open-ended to that, or do we want to give a little bit more structure to it so that they understand what they need to contribute in order to have the best ability to get the funds?
That's a good point. I'm wondering if it might be hard to nail all these things.
Wait, I really do. I think.
Oh, chair.
Yeah, I think personally, I think it could go either way, because I don't want to, and prevent people from, throwing out new ideas. But at the same time, if staff thinks that there needs to be some more structure to that component, and maybe we'll learn it after we throw it out there.
I think it probably both ways.
It's going to be competitive to a degree, correct?
So maybe people should know what they're up against. I mean, the one thing I would see being more strongly stated in here is staff time is what we don't have to give. I mean, we can do social media, we can be there, but we don't have people to set up, take down. We don't have people to call an order, and
the intention is not for the downtown office to run this.
It's to have an event that we don't have to give time for.
I guess I'm curious how to word that, because to an extent, perhaps it's Parks and Rec doing a little bit, perhaps it's public safety doing a little bit, perhaps it's, because there's departments that we'd be asking for resources from, but I guess the question is.
And I think that we want downtown to do to have a pretty strong stake in the organization of that.
Yeah, we don't want a dud event on our hands that we look responsible for.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Other thing that it's not clear to me in this that I wanted to check on is the openness of the event. Like, does that need to be open to the public?
It does.
Because maybe I just didn't read it properly, but
I'm not sure it's in there.
I didn't see that. And then what would any commercial limit, like, can any commercial thing, can any transactions happen as part of these events?
Like
could someone sell stuff?
it's commercial use, that would have to be listed in their plan of what they were going to do. It's commercial use of the public right of way. Now, we would probably say if you're Rough Life, you can't invite PetSmart to come in and any other pet store. Well, why you would do that anyway? You can't have a pet fair, is in other words, only merchants from downtown can participate. You could have a Rough Life pet fair, but you know, you could have a dog day when you had all kinds of nonprofits that bring dogs to pay, but we wouldn't want anyone, any for-profit business to come into the downtown.
If you're getting to the heart of what Joe's asking, it seems like what is free for the public versus what is being sold to the public is it kind of in a way.
Yeah, well, kind of making sure that it's clear that
What constitutes commercial activity?
Yeah, and then if you have it open to the public, make however much we want people to be able to actually be selling things, and or if we're clarifying what types of things, whether it's access, what types of goods people can buy, that type of thing. If there's a limit on that too, in addition to the business. If we want to have any of those limitations, but I didn't see those things.
I don't, unless you're thinking of something I haven't thought of, I don't know why we would want to limit it just to alcohol or just to food. I mean, I don't know unless.
Yeah, so for instance, with our event, we didn't sell anything in the street.
Right.
But at the same time, we're the ones bumped up right next to it, so of course people were grabbing shit from us and then immediately crossing into downtown.
Right.
So. It's always playing with the, like, in a way, it's a perception, oh, Petoskey's gotten so huge, no, our city limits haven't moved in how long? But people see things grow, so what's the perception versus what's the reality and how is it structured and.
I guess maybe I'm thinking more of, is it an event like a concert or is it an event like Art in the Park situation where it's, the event is entertainment, people are there to enjoy that versus, oh, we're gonna do our own sale in the park and have or in a street and we want to have our own extended shopping situation. You know what I mean?
I think it's a very salient point.
I think there has to be an entertainment value to what's being presented, right? Like it's, because you have sidewalk sales, right? You have things like, so it's not just meant to be commercial, there has to be an entertainment portion. I will tell you, and I don't want this to come and be hurtful, I'm not trying to be hurtful. So I was really excited to go and see the band, but there were tickets that were sold and it was sold out.
That was the interior.
Right,
Yes.
but so like, then I was like, oh, and they played, but they didn't play for very long. It felt like I felt cheated.
Okay.
And I'll be like that, I couldn't get the whole experience because there was a private party inside where things had been sold for, and I like missed the boat on that.
Okay.
So I was bummed as a downtown person that I couldn't go get the whole experience.
And that's a very, I wish you'd shared that with me earlier. I think that's something important to do. Like what's considered the outside public event versus a private inside? Because I think anything component of this would have to, somebody could do something entirely outside, but if it adjoins their property, what do they consider inside, private, not? How do we delineate that?
Right, so if you, right, you do know what I'm saying, like if you're advertising saying this is what we're doing, but then there's a private component.
How do we do that?
Like you weren't invited, right? Like, so there's that like, oh, you can come to this, but you can't come to this. And that can rub some people wrong.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
But I guess those questions, like I do think there needs to be some public, you're providing a public good, and I think that's a huge benefit to the downtown. If someone's coming up and funding, planning all the event, and it's bringing people downtown, great. Just they're, depending on how, I guess we can always say no, but if it's open-ended enough, then it can turn into something that maybe isn't providing that value.
I guess that's the point, Joe.
Yeah.
Do we want to say no to somebody and then create hard feelings because they thought, well, I should be able to do this. It doesn't match. It matches what you said,
Right. So, I mean, I think you could just put some statement in there that says it has to provide this. Some discretionary statement about it providing a public benefit. Being open to the public and entertainment or free public benefit. And then that's our discretion. That's our wiggle room to determine that.
Key word there could be discretion, at board discretion.
Yeah. Just to make sure it's doing those things.
Good points. taking good notes. What was the giggling?
Oh, she's very on the.
You wanted me to design the Meyer hardware window on Pennsylvania.
So if they're gonna have a window that prominent, you want the master's brushstroke. They didn't call in some guy off the street to do the Sistine Chapel. They got Michelangelo.
All right, this is off the subject, but you can marinate what we're talking about. I left this out of the thing about the Meyer hardware. I can't tell you how many meetings I've been in that I have heard. People get up to the corner of Howard and Mitchell and they try to go up Mitchell, but they think, oh, they don't see anything up there. Actually, even Penny's has been a detriment to that because they get there and they say, oh, Penny's, this isn't for me. I'm talking about visitors that don't know the town and they don't go that way. And they look up this boarded building on the side. So the greater good that taking that off and putting a nice display in there is really a good for all of downtown. So I'm off my soapbox now.
Yeah, did we just have to threaten to change the facade program to get all these applications? Just like, how we're gonna change it and also. Yeah.
To be honest, why we shot to the moon, it's like, oh, there's not been a lot of.
All right, you started and I finished.
Board chair, we've got this. But no, that's, I think there's some good discussion on this. It sounds like the board would like to see a little bit more tightening up of this, if I'm reading the room correctly.
I just think like a sentence or two.
Yeah,
Changes it.
tightening it up just a
Yeah.
little, but
I have 3 or 4 sentences and I get the gist
Yeah.
that we want to make it so that they know what to expect and they know that they have to come out in some manner that will give public benefit and they'll know they're not going to be improved if they're not approved, they're not going to do that. So if you trust me to go ahead and refine it that way, we don't have time for another meeting.
I mean, the reality is, I think whatever we put out there, we then have to approve the events, so it would come back to the board anyway. So yes, we don't have time, I think, to get another board meeting to get it done. I'd like to hear board comment on that, but I feel I'm personally comfortable with you adjusting as we had discussed.
What if I add the caveat that we don't have, if we don't find an event that's good enough, we don't have to do it.
This is after discussion.
Board discretion thing is a good
Yeah.
Yeah.
addition.
Are you comfortable with being in the seat of giving those yes or no's? I mean, that's your job, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not behaving over here.
This is the fun end of the table.
Andrew, the front of the table, Andrew.
I think some of us are gonna have to stay after class. Okay, I think that would work from my side. I don't think we need a motion or an approval there. I think it's just kind of more like taking a discussion.
Consensus to
forward.
go ahead?
Yeah,
All right. I see all, this is up and down.
perfect. Next on our agenda then is report by downtown management board committees.
Well, you have the committee notes in your packet. If you have any questions on any of those. We had a busy month. I'm happy with the committees and their work. Highly organized, I think, and doing well. But I have my own notes about just things I was going to talk to you about tonight. The first thing I want to talk to you about is the fact that I have hired a person to do the downtown marketing and promotions director to fill that position. Some of you may be aware because the organization task force is aware that what happened, but we're going to be graced with Andy Simons coming back. So could not be happier about this. And I know Megan isn't here tonight and she's on our board. It's all peaceful. It's all fine, but and Andy will speak for herself about why she made the decision to come back. But she and I talked very seriously about this because there are things that, she was very unhappy about. But there are also things that we could do differently. She could do differently, and she and I could do differently to make some headway there and to make some changes. So I see this as the best possible solution for downtown. I interviewed, I can't tell you how many people who were budding, young, professional people who could probably be growing to doing a decent job, but not necessarily being here forever, stepping stone out of just being educated, which I don't, it's not like there's a prejudice against that. I just needed someone more seasoned. And Andy is extremely seasoned because she's even been in the position. She knows pitfalls and she knows things that can happen that are good. Her training will be, she's still going to have training because the job description through the org task force was rewritten and has some different managerial skills to it. It takes on more responsibility as far as management. That's why she's being called a director and not a coordinator anymore. And it is also taking some events off the plate, like she's not doing the parade because the Rotary is doing the parade. Those kinds of things are changing. So while she's been away, she's done work at Crooked Tree, which is an organization that is very premier, and she's learned a lot while she was gone too. So I'm very pleased that we're going to be able to have her start. She is starting the week of April 3rd. I don't have a place for her to sit yet, but I'm working on it. The goal here was to have her not work in the parking office, and that was one stipulation that she had as well. She does not want to be affiliated with parking, and this was the new strategic plan says there's going to be a downtown division, and it's going to have two arms, a marketing arm and a parking arm, and they don't have to live together. So I am looking for space. She can work remotely. There's a new co-op workspace that's coming in. She could work there for a while. I think it's important that she isn't there forever and that she does have her own office space, but it's tight in downtown to find office space. It really, truly is. I did look at a spot today. I'm not happy about the price and I'm not happy about the landlord, but it's available.
Sounds like the position all of us are in.
Yeah,
I do. I sometimes don't like my That's me.
So anyway, we can get by without making that decision today. So I just want you to know that I think everyone involved has learned a lot in the last 18 months. And I think we came to a great decision. So I'm thrilled to see her grow with us again. So I just wanted to add also that the marketing committee is working on the downtown calendar and there is ad space available on that counter. If you as board members have not signed up for an ad space yet, just you should be signed up.
Okay.
I mean, this is this board's project, so it would be nice. And also we're working hard on staycation for next week. We're stuffing these goodie bags as fast as we can, but there's room for more if you haven't given us
I've got stuff tomorrow to grab off.
this is going to be a very nice presentation goodie bag. So we've had people knocking on the door, maybe 7 or 8 people already for them. So I don't know why.
Looking for them.
Mhm. They're not going, they're actually the promotional. They weren't supposed to really be able to pick them up until Monday because we're only open. Stafford's gets theirs right away, but we were only open, Monday, but the social media machine got rolling and said it started on March 26th. So I'm going to just work on Sunday. I need to work on Sunday anyway and just pass them out. And so we'll be open and give them out. So hopefully we'll get a lot of people. I know I probably have a lot more, but it's just all a blur right now. Busy. So if you have any questions, happy to. I know city council was very, very late last night, so.
What's the deadline for the downtown shopping map?
I don't know. We haven't made it yet.
Oh, okay.
Interesting. Interesting question from you. We always want it up on Memorial Weekend. And usually, so I back up from that. So I probably have to send everything by the second week in May and, right around there.
Okay. Just wanted to get your wheels spinning.
Yeah, well, I'll be awake on that one tonight.
You could buy an ad in the calendar. It's only $150.
Well, we don't know what she's
And that
advertising
deadline is now.
I don't know, maybe, Shane has a recap of last night's meeting or,
Perfect.
yeah.
Next on the agenda is report by city staff.
As Becky mentioned, we did have a lengthy meeting last night. We talked about deer, urban deer management in our work session. No, it was just a discussion. We had a couple experts that presented on that. Gave us some good ideas, and we'll kind of see where it goes from there, but no direct action came from the work session topic. Regular meeting, we again went fairly long last night, but few things to pick up on. We are working and have been working through drafting an ethics ordinance for elected officials, appointed officials, and city staff to abide by, essentially. So we got some feedback from council. This was on for first reading last night. We had enough feedback on that we really need to reset the first reading for the next meeting. So we will not have a meeting the first Monday in April due to spring break. So our next meeting will be April 17th. So that'll be a first reading for that ethics ordinance. Also have been working through the 2023-2025 city council action plan. So we list a number of priorities that council is interested in addressing over the next few years. Putting some action items associated with those priorities. And so that was adopted with a few tweaks last night. So we'll get those tweaks changed up and get that out on our website here probably by the end of this week. A couple new business items. We did receive a grant through Eagle for our winter sports park improvements. This was a $20,000 grant to help us with. We have a project that we're replacing windows and doors at the facility, as well as doing some roof replacement at the winter sports park. So that grant will go towards those improvements. Also, we'll be submitting a brownfield grant and loan application or proposal to Eagle for the Michigan Maple Block project. As you know, that's a significant project, significant contamination, significant demolition, significant in a lot of different ways. So we're going to need every possible opportunity to make that project continue to move forward. So this was just a proposal. So we submitted that today. We'll hear back from Eagle on if we were approved to proceed through their process. The grant was a no-brainer, as you can imagine. There's really not much to think about when we do grants other than, what is the match. But the other piece of that was there's a loan component to this that the developers asking the city to consider. That's a little different scenario than what we've used before. Very attractive terms on the loan. No payments for 5 years. We would essentially paid our loan back based on the proceeds that are wrapped up into the TIF for the brownfield. But again, it's just the different mechanism, and I'm not. We'll have to see if we get to that point, how council wants to proceed on the loan piece of it. But that was approved unanimously to at least submit the proposal. And then we talked about with the ownership group of the City Park Grill. As you know, we're going through a rental rehab application with the ownership group there. We have received bids on that, or I should say bid on that project. Unfortunately, we only received one bid. It was a couple $100,000 over the budget. that was proposed, so the owners are seeking any sort of city support for moving this project forward. So we had a good discussion with council last night. And ultimately, I think the consensus was that the city is interested and will listen and will put a development agreement together with the owners to show some support to move this project forward. So I've got a deadline of by the end of this week to get that packaged up and sent into MEDC. That is our deadline, and then hopefully we'll receive that award there shortly after, and that project will continue to move forward as well. Becky had it in her notes, but just to remind you, the Mitchell Street entrance project will start next week. So we're anxiously looking forward to that. We had a number of things. There'll be a lot of activity over there, and we chose next week, obviously, because there'll be less traffic. So our tree contractors will be lined up likely along 31 on that turnoff to address some of the trees, and Ben's got his chainsaw sharpened and ready to go.
If that's possible.
Go for it.
Well, just
Becky did identify a tree, and we had our forester, or the forester that we used, looked at it, and we all concurred that that is still a nice specimen tree, that we will be keeping that particular tree. The others around it. What variety is that? Is that just a maple or?
It's a maple, but it's a clump, so I think.
It's got multiple trunks, and yeah.
It's cleaned up quite high, so it's gonna give a look of, it's always been there.
Mhm.
Won't look all brand new.
Yeah.
It's very happy.
Yep. So the other trees will be removed, and that process again will start on Monday, as well as we have some water work. We have some electric work. We have obviously street crew will be there putting sidewalk in with our contractor. So that project will get started next week. Again, we'll try to get all of our traffic issues done while the traffic is less next week, get everything done and get off the street. But for a while, there'll be a little bit of moonscape going on there, but obviously we have to look at the bigger picture, and there will be plantings, the garden club will be involved. We'll relocate the sign appropriately, but that whole view shed will open up as we start making that turn there, which will be a great thing for all of us and our visitors to enjoy. So Mayor, anything that you'd like to pick up on?
Other than it was a damn long meeting.
The mayor was very chatty last night.
I'm trying to protect the city's financial well-being and asking strong questions, whether, I want to know what our liability is. I want to,
Yep.
Maple Block, you mentioned that.
Yep.
That was, we're hoping that project goes.
Yeah, there's a number of things associated with that project, and it's an enormous project. It's just, just the demolition, the environmental work is very significant. So yeah, it's going to be kind of, when you look at public-private partnership, that's probably the poster child for that, because that project would never be able to proceed without public support. So at some point, it'd be nice not to have to give up tax dollars for projects, and we maybe after the lofts, maybe after the Maple Block site, when we're able to get 300 units of affordable housing in our community, maybe we can pull back a little bit on. Because obviously our needs still are here, right? We still have to provide police, fire, parks, all of that stuff continues. And even though, some of these projects might not be paying as much as they would normally. So there's a balance there. It's a delicate balance, but we also want to make sure that we're addressing a huge need in our region. So I think those two projects certainly do that.
There's other multiple ones from the Delray Hotel on Evans. Delray Hotel on Evans Street, which at one time was a hospital on the corner of Emmett and Mitchell. Bob Burns' apartments on East Lake.
Yeah, that does remind me, I haven't shared with this board since that happened, but I did participate in the Michigan Strategic Fund board meeting last month and spoke in support of the what is it, the address is 316, 318 Lake Street project, and that you received unanimous support. You may have heard that or seen that press release, but so that project will move forward as well.
I think I did forward that to all of you, but just to make sure that they.
That's all I have.
I guess I would just add that the Delray Hotel and the City Park project, those are smaller, but they're very valuable to the downtown. And the preservation part is also, these are historic buildings and it's lovely to have this big development at Maple Block. We need that terribly, but the preservation part of keeping these buildings filled and usable should be really important to this board. Good luck on Friday.
Awesome. Well, with that, if there's nothing else for the board, the question, comment, concern on tonight, I'll go ahead and adjourn tonight's meeting.
You want the batteries?
Yes, so if every board member could just flip their thing upside down and pop it out, that would be wonderful. Let's take a minute.